We still have 2 minutes, so right now it's freestyle time.
Wiki.
Dude, that's not what I meant. Please don't do that.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is now the moment where I wish I had multiple screens. Because I'm rocking 2 right now, and boop. I'm about to have a 3rd up here in a second.
I'm going to F11 this bad boy. Close that. That's a little bit better. It's a little neater.
Oh yeah, get us on full screen, baby. Let's go.
Dude, I need a haircut so bad. My hair is just standing straight up if it's not being chemically glued down to my skull.
Full bush.
Don't say.
And bam, Twitch turns us off.
No, you see, my name is George Bush. And I believe that
Music Man, not full bush.
I believe that Iran has nuclear weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, you went George Bush with it. I was thinking more of the downstairs Bush.
I know. I was trying to divert away from you being gross and weird.
I will not be diverted. I am inevitable.
Shut up.
I love it. It is 7 o'clock. You're not helping, Nathan. I know. That's what I'm here for. Is walking that line to demonetization before we're even monetized. So, I know how to be.
Your hobby desk is looking pretty good, actually. That's quite the orc army you got going there, nerd.
Yeah, so they're all organized. So you can see the Forbidden Mountain Dew in the middle. That's because that is Niblet Green. Because I was dry brushing the bases after putting earth texture on them. So because they're orcs, and so I figured it would be a fair and accurate representation for orcs to have spores and spore-like things all over the ground, because that's how they grow. So
orc splooge.
Yes, indeed. So I've been working on that because I have a couple Warhammer games coming up this month and need to have more of my army painted. So it's a good time. It is 7 o'clock. It's about to be 7:01. So I say,
let's kick this sucker off.
Jump right in.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Welcome to episode 42, everybody, and welcome to the live episode of Talk About Tatooine. Today is the 2nd live episode we have ever done, so thank you all so much for everyone who is watching so far. We love you so much. You are adored. Today's recording date is September 10th, and we're actually going to release this September 11th on Monday, so you guys are going to hear this tomorrow on YouTube and all of our podcast sites, so you guys are going to be good. Today we are talking about Ahsoka episodes 3 and 4, but we're going to start with our starter questions. Make sure you guys stick around. We might have some news coming your way as well. Andrew, you got us a good starter question this week. How about you go ahead and hit us with it?
So this is a question in many different formats that we're going to actually repeat kind of a lot of, and we're going to talk about different fandoms and kind of things that don't make sense. So this week's question is, what is one thing about the Warhammer fandom that just doesn't make any sense?
I started writing down my answer, and I have a good answer for this because it confuses me every single time, and it's but I didn't actually write it down in the notes. So if there's any confusion there, that's why. The thing that doesn't make sense to me about the Warhammer fandom is the Space Wolves and their use of psychers, but complaining to everyone else that they're not using psychers. They're like, no, we're basically earth shamans, and they're like, that makes it different. And so in the Horus Heresy, when they're complaining about the Council of Nicaea and everyone else is now no longer allowed to use their zappity powers, the Space Wolves are like, yeah, we can do it. It's fine. Ours come from like a different source. We're not Maleficarum, as they like to say. So, and it bugs me so much.
They're like, your witchery is different than my witchery.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's like
they
arguing, it's just
great.
Semantics, and it drives me nuts. So
one thing that doesn't really make a lot of sense in Warhammer for me is, so in 40K, the Emperor is being sustained by basically a constant stream of human sacrifices, specifically psychers. And psychers are supposed to be like 0.001% of the population. I'm like, I feel like they're going to exhaust the amount of psychers that they have if he's consuming tons of them a day.
You could probably do some sort of math equation to see what the human population would need to be to sustain that number of psychers and not have it go down, because theoretically there's like a million worlds in the Imperium or something like that. I'm sure there's an actual number for that somewhere written on probably, I don't know, probably lexicanium.com. Who knows?
Probably.
And if you take into consideration like hive worlds have like trillions of people on them, then you'll get like a handful of psychers. But you also have to consider that, like, isn't it 1,000 psychers like a day? Or
it's a large number.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm sure there's somebody who could probably figure that out, or probably has figured that out, and is just like knows their stuff.
But here's the thing. It's not going to be me, because I don't do math on the weekends.
Fair. I also try not to do math on the weekends.
That's a portion of my brain that only works on the clock.
I like it. Moving on to our second opening question. What games have you been playing?
I've been playing Starfield since it came out last week. F in the chat for Nathan, who doesn't have a current generation console or computer to run Starfield. But Nathan, I'll just say this for your benefit. It is not a fun game, and it totally stinks, and I haven't already been playing it for hours on end.
Your poker face is terrible.
Yeah.
He's a liar. I have been staring at a wall because I don't have any machines that can play anything, and a wall has a better processor than my PC does. No, I've actually been playing a lot of StarCraft recently. I have been playing Rotate Boulder Gates 3 is better. Ooh, I haven't played that either, but I have some clients who play BG3, and they have been super excited about it. So I'm actually excited to get into both. I've been playing StarCraft 1 because StarCraft runs on my machine still. StarCraft 2, I should say. And 2, it's still fun. And so I've been playing through the co-op missions, and Agreed. I've been working to recently get Raynor's fully upgraded commander in his last tier going, and he's very like aircraft motivated. So I've been doing Sky Terran in co-op recently.
But boy, once Stormgate drops, I probably will never play StarCraft 2 ever again.
That is super fair, and I will probably be along there with you. Absolutely.
Yep.
With that, guys, we are going to get into our spoiler warning. So we're doing this live, guys, so that's always kind of a hard thing. So we're talking Ahsoka. It's in the title, so like if you guys haven't seen it already, especially episodes 3 and 4, we're gonna spoil stuff. So make sure you guys bail out now if you don't. But if you would like to stay around, we'd be super happy that you did, and we'd be super happy about that. And also, this is a reminder for our folks who are going to be listening to this tomorrow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Please make sure you guys follow the podcast, leave us a good review, and subscribe wherever is applicable. That helps us out a ton. This is your official spoiler warning. Let's get right into it. Before we do, actually, I almost forgot the most important part. The people we love so much is our patrons. We're super thankful for you. This week, we would like to thank our top patrons, Mike and Isaac. You guys are the reason we do this, honestly. We're super excited to roll out some more stuff for you guys. We've got a Discord server that everyone's welcome in forever and ever. Amen. We've got game servers, and we are looking to do some more just quality game reviews. We just posted a video today of a new deck that I've been playing on Marvel Snap that another creator did. And we really like our science approach to everything. We're huge STEM fans here on the podcast. So what we do is we
stay in school.
What we did is we essentially made a big sample size for something, and we were like, hey, we're going to look at this from a statistical point of view and see if this deck is worth playing. And boy, howdy, it was. Make sure you guys check us out on YouTube as well. But yeah, we're just very thankful for you guys, because the more support we get, the more content we can make, and we're hoping to do more of that in the future as well. Let's start off Yeah, Andrew, do you have
I was going to say, and if you stick towards the end of the episode, we're actually going to be announcing what our next giveaway on our Patreon is going to be at the end of the episode. So stick around.
Indeed. Super excited about it. We always start these off, guys, with a rating 1 out of 10. So if you guys haven't listened to these before, that's what we do. 1 basically just meaning that we thought the episode was absolute garbage, and 10 being we thought it was absolutely fantastic. So Andrew, Age Before Beauty, here we go. Tell us your score, 1 out of 10.
We're identical twins. That's so rude. You
got
dork.
him.
Okay, episode 3 of Ahsoka. This one is the episode with like lots of flying and the political intrigue. I give it a 7 out of 10. I was into it. I really liked the way the New Republic operates. I'm very interested to see how they kind of like missed the mark, because here's the thing, like leading a rebellion is not the same thing as leading a republic. And that's the tension that we see between Hera and the senators, is they don't know what they're doing. Like the rebels, they're like, hey, we know how to fight a guerrilla warfare and take down the Empire, which is so much bigger than us, using better tactics, better people, and better ships for the most part. So I'm very invested into why the New Republic was such a failure.
Yeah, and the only one there that has even a lick of experience is Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that they brought back the same actress that played Mon Mothma in Andor, as well as Ahsoka. So I was super happy about that.
She does such a good job.
I was literally going back and forth watching Andor and Ahsoka this week. I've just been on a Star Wars kick, and it has been amazing. I gave this a 6 out of 10, and I'll tell you why when we get into our later segment, why it was just a little bit lower.
Sure thing.
I really liked this episode, but it's still simmering. The plot is still like heating up, and it's not quite there yet. Like big things are not yet happening. They're getting there, but they're not. They haven't quite arrived yet. So the plot is still rising. We're still getting closer to probably a mid-season climax. Which we'll talk about in episode 4, which we definitely saw. But I did have a few things that pulled me away from like a 7 or an 8 in this episode. But we'll talk about those when we get into our lowlights of the episode.
Sure thing. We're going to start off with our favorite moments from this episode. So we'll start positive, we'll go a little bit negative, and then we'll talk about lore and maybe some predictions moving forward. We actually did a prediction episode. I think it was back in episode 38. This is episode 42, about what we thought was going to happen in the Ahsoka show. I think we're batting 0 right now. Like, although we guessed a lot of character deaths as well. And no one really important has died. So that is yet to be seen. But kind of on a lot of the plot points, we're totally missing it.
Swing and a miss.
Favorite moments, I'm going to start us off if you don't mind. I really think Sabine's training is like fascinating. As a Jedi, like, or I should say, as not a Jedi, like a Force layperson, it's really interesting seeing this scene that's basically a mirror image of Luke's training with Obi-Wan on the Millennium Falcon with the training droid, except Sabine is not getting it.
Nope.
I think it's wonderful for a couple reasons. One, it's nice to see Sabine struggle because she is an excellent fighter, but now she's being put into this area where it does not excel in, and she may not ever be able to excel in. Because even to Ahsoka's admittance, she says there's a lot of talent involved in this. That's why maybe you see people who are from highly Force-sensitive bloodlines are very good at using the Force. It's like this inherited talent. It's sort of the same thing as like people who play professional sports. Every human, for the most part, is capable of, say, swinging a baseball bat, or throwing a football, or kicking a soccer ball. However, to do it well is incredibly rare. I mean, just such a small portion of the population can play at that elite level. And with Jedi, it's exactly the same. And that's what we might get with Sabine. However, we're kind of seeing the theory about some of these more obscure things about the Force being tested, particularly the theory that, well, if the Force is in everyone, why can't anyone be trained in it? This makes total sense since Ahsoka saw what happened to the Jedi and saw where it failed before it fell. We have already seen that Ahsoka is not really interested in recreating the Jedi Order, at least not how it was, because it failed her. It totally failed her before it was actually destroyed. And it was failing a lot of people. It failed Qui-Gon. We saw Qui-Gon in Tales of the Jedi kind of have a lot of doubts about how the Jedi Order was interacting with the Force and how they were interpreting the Force, I guess, in its will, maybe. I'm not really sure that the Jedi see it that way. But we also see that in the future, Luke Skywalker fails at resurrecting the Order, but for the most part, he basically tries to copy and paste what the Order also was. So it's I'm very interested to see if Ahsoka will kind of try to make her own Order of Force users. It would be really interesting to see like a Grandmaster Ahsoka kind of doing her own thing.
That would be amazing.
Because if she can crack kind of the why certain people can use the Force and certain people can't, if she can get around that, it's going to have gigantic implications for the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's really going to turn what we know as like the Jedi Order on its head. And I think for the better. I think that would be really interesting if, anyone could do it, because yeah, I just think that would be really interesting. Maybe they have to go through some sort of trial, or they have to have some sort of breakthrough. Not sure. That would be... And on the flip side of that coin, the dark side of that coin, if the Sith figured out how to activate latent Force abilities in anyone, that could be a huge recruiting tool and potentially like a new Jedi-Sith war. Just spitballing. Cool. Just spitballing. That could be something really cool. Also, space whales are dope. I think they're cool.
I love the Purrgil. Just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying is, I think, I disagree where you're going to go, where that's going just a little bit. I do like your theorizing. I think you've got good spirit there.
How dare you?
I know. I think part of the reason that Ahsoka is failing is because she's a warrior training in a style of combat that is specific to Force users. The Jedi and the Sith developed these lightsaber forms because they have precognitive abilities, which Sabine does not have. However, we see in Rebels and so far that she's an amazing warrior, but when when Ahsoka is trying to train her in all these things, like in episode 3 when they're flying and she's like, learn to anticipate. It's like, yeah, I'm sure she's trying to do that.
Yeah.
But the type of anticipation that Ahsoka is asking her to do is precognition. And she's like, I can't do that. And so you see her struggling in these fights when she's actually an excellent warrior. She comes from a warrior family of a warrior people. So, and she's absolutely a badass. And so it's just interesting to see her fail at something she's been historically really, really good at, which is fighting and being a Mandalorian. So, but I think that just goes to show that they're going to, I think, along with Ahsoka, we are going to learn a lot about how the Force works and how it may or may not exclude people. And so I'm interested to see how they play that, how that's going to turn out. But I would be interested to see if Ahsoka continues to build an order, which I would think would be really cool, but modeling it on something that lay people can enter into and not have like fighting styles or abilities that like Jedi would have. Like, hey, like this is our job as like protectors of the galaxy, but you don't have to be Force sensitive to do that.
Right.
So I could see that happening.
Could be cool.
I will say my highlight from this was like seeing the Purrgil in live action. I thought that was really, really cool because they hinted about that in Mandalorian. There's you see them in some hyperspace lanes, their silhouettes. I really like that. Like the more information they're releasing, a lot of extra stuff gets posted on like Wikipedia and like Star Wars fandom.com, things like that. You have these different like kind of encyclopedias of knowledge, and a lot of extra stuff gets kind of posted when we see these episodes. And so it's really cool that Purrgil are officially classified as star whales, because that's how what we all called them. We're like, haha, whales in space. And it's like, no, they're officially like that's their classification as a star whale. And we see them
cool.
that they feed on, or sorry, I won't go into too much of that because I want to talk about that in my lore section.
Sure thing.
I am getting ahead of myself a little bit. And I am super excited to see more of the Eye of Sion. I want to see this ship do cool things. I want to see this ship do. I want to. I'm kind of rooting for the bad guys here, guys. I kind of want them to make it to the other galaxy.
I know.
So.
It's like, we just hope they really find Ezra. I mean, if Thrawn's there too, that wouldn't be the worst thing. Can you hear that?
Yeah, totally. That's fine.
That's my washer going off.
I love it.
It's like, I'm going to sing you a little song now that I have dampened and washed your clothes. That's,
you proud of that?
No. I wish we weren't live so you could cut that, actually, because
I will not.
I hate it so much. Speaking of the Eye of Sion, that's actually the bit of lore that I want to cover for this episode. We are skipping our theories for what's going to happen in the next episode because we're going to talk about what's going to happen, like what happened in the next episode.
Indeed.
In like 5 minutes. So not going to do that because that would be weird. So I'm talking about hyperspace rings. The hyperspace rings we haven't really seen since episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We see that Obi-Wan's starfighter inherently doesn't have hyperspace capabilities, so it has to attach itself to a hyperspace ring so that it can travel the lanes. The idea is that if a fighter doesn't have to have a hyperdrive outfit, it can divert more of its power to shields, weapon, and speed. Now, to clarify, we don't know if the prequel era ships were incapable of creating a ship in such a small form factor with a hyperdrive, or they just didn't. Maybe it wasn't cost effective, maybe they just didn't have the technology. It's not really clear, but we know by the time of the rebellion that such small ships, including interceptor models such as the A-Wing, which are very similar to like Obi-Wan's Eta 2 or something. No, that's the episode 3 ship. Never mind. Interceptor models such as the A-Wing were fast, deadly, and capable of light speed. Now we have fighters that are developed by the Empire. None of the core TIE models have hyperdrives because we know canonically that they're moving for more of an economical standpoint. And then, except for the TIE Defender, which was developed by none other than Thrawn. It's all connected, people. Get your tinfoil out, because it's all connected.
Absolutely.
Thrawn's in all the details.
Fun fact as well, guys, if you guys want to learn more about Star Wars fighters, especially the TIE series, we actually have an entire YouTube series covering all of those in quite a bit of detail. So make sure you guys subscribe to us on YouTube so that you guys can go over and see those videos, because a lot of times we reference those, but we want to make resources so that you guys are up to date when we are referencing potentially obscure starfighters in the Star Wars universe.
Shameless plug.
See, when you do weird stuff like that, I still can't cut it out. That's all right, though. Some lore I want to talk about is the space whales, which I definitely got ahead of myself. And I was like, I'm going to talk about them. We actually get to see these guys in the high atmosphere of the planet Cetos. Purrgil are official. And, sorry, I just definitely pressed the wrong button because my notes are deciding to scroll off the page here for some reason.
You've ruined everything.
Dude, I hate OneNote so much. Oh, my gosh.
It's not great.
It's not my favorite. Let me fix this, guys. There we go.
It actually did the same thing to me. I had to, like, while I was doing the intro, I was having to scroll over, like, it's running away from me.
I know, and that's what it just happened to me. I was like, wait a second. So, sorry, guys. I switched windows and I made everything wrong. So we're going to talk about the Purrgil. They're officially classified as space whale or star whales, according to our robotic friendo, who's actually turning out to be one of my favorite characters of this series so far. I'm so excited.
Hugh Yang.
Hu Yang, yeah. He's so much fun. I
He's so
love his
cool.
sass, and he just does such a great job. We actually get to see these guys in Rebels for the first time in animation, and we know that they feed on interplanetary bodies of gas and are capable of making hyperspace jumps. These whales are thought to be the first inspiration to current hyperspace travel. So, fun little bit of lore. They saw these big whale thingies and they were like, hey, it's moving super fast. We should probably do the same thing. So, somewhere along the line, somebody saw a whale and was like, yes, we're going to go to a different planet. And then they made the hyperdrive. So, very, very cool. Moving into our next part, we are going to be talking about just some episode lowlights really quick before we hop into episode 4. Andrew, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so the dogfight in episode 3 actually like kind of took me out of it just a little bit because I thought Ahsoka's ship took a little bit too much of a pounding. Like it was like 5 straight minutes of them getting direct hits, and there was it was a 6 starfighter squadron, right? And it took them several minutes to get shot down. So either Ahsoka, I mean, it's plot armor. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's just like whatever, it's plot armor. Trying to stay immersed in the universe. It's like that ship.
It was a painful amount of plot armor, though. Like we're talking, this plot armor was double C thick. Like holy cow! Like they got shot so many times, and you're like, where in the Star Wars universe has a ship ever survived that many hits?
Yeah, and it's essentially flying in a straight line, and then it starts taking turbo laser fire. And yeah, so that kind of took me out of it a little bit. Dave Filoni does a really good job in a lot of things. Directing dogfighting maybe is not one of them.
However, I will say his creative inspiration did come through because the ships that we saw are modeled after old World War II fighter planes.
Oh, so the design is awesome.
Yeah, and so that was a super, super cool detail. I thought that was just really like fun bits of inspiration that we got to see. But no, that this was kind of the strike that took me down from 7 to 8 because I had to like mentally refocus myself. I knew that I was like, okay, I'm immediately taken out because they've been shot like 17 times and I've seen how ships take damage. Whatever you're scratching, stop it.
Sorry.
You do the same thing I do. You always have to like play with something with your hands. So, what was I saying? But yeah, that took me out of it for sure, and that brought my score down to a 6 rather than a 7 or an 8. I personally believe they should have gone to atmosphere a lot quicker. There should have been they should have gone into system. I think it would have been a little bit cooler if they did like a really like close proxy jump. And they saw the Eye of Sion almost immediately because it took them a while to get to it. They did a little bit of dogfighting, and then I feel like it would have been more adventurous for them to get forced down into atmosphere quicker. And then like they're able to evade within the Purgle and things like that, and then hide in the forest. I think that would have made sense. They would have been able to follow all the same plot points.
Yeah,
but I felt like they just dragged out the fight a little bit too much. I just don't necessarily agree on that's how I would have directed it. Mm-hmm. So, but that's
I'm there with you. It's it could have been done a little bit better. They were kind of like hey, stretch it out.
Yeah, which they could have
fine.
done in other ways. They could have done in other ways, like maybe some more dialogue on the Eye of Sion, like more stuff happening with Balin's skull. Yeah. Like could have done a lot.
Yeah, and it's okay to stretch a little bit, like. But as soon as your audience kind of realizes that they're stretching it out, it's like, okay, you gotta take it back a notch now.
Yeah, and there wasn't any like big. There was I will say there was a little bit of kind of like mending Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship because Sabine I don't know if you caught it, but Sabine Ahsoka, excuse me, originally starts like trying to teach, and Sabine's like, hey, that's not going to work in this situation. She's like, I'm not going to be able to apply what you were trying to teach me in this moment and survive. And so Ahsoka immediately switches and she says, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
And so she immediately like rekindles that relationship, and they're like, okay, so they switch to the technical aspect. Again, Sabine is a fantastic warrior. She's a great flyer. She's a great shooter.
Mhm.
So she says, if you can put me into these maneuvers, I can start making kills. And she does. She shoots down like 4 of them. Yeah, she does. She shoots down 4 of the 6, leaving our Dark Jedi friends. So like that starts to make a little bit more sense. Like I think what we're going to see through this series is ideally they're going to play off of each other's strengths and not necessarily just like hopefully Ahsoka won't just say, oh, I'm just going to hope for the best and hope Sabine interacts with the like 1% force powers that every innate human and creature has, right? So I'm hoping that they continue building that relationship up, and I thought that was a cool way to do it. But again, they could have played that scene a little bit better and restored the relationship or continued building towards the relationship without being like, hey, you've been shot 17 times. You're dead. You're supposed to die.
They got shot so much. It's like, okay, you can't. I'm like, unless they're the lasers from the other ships are actually just flashlights, like they should have been dead. Should have been dead.
Exactly. All right, with that, guys, we are going to hop into our episode 4 review. So just another spoiler warning really, really quick. We just finished talking about Ahsoka episode 3. Now we're going to talk about Ahsoka episode 4. So make sure you guys have actually watched that. This is your opportunity to bail out if you haven't, but we're going to start off with a rating 1 out of 10. Andrew, go ahead and hit us.
My headphone just made a beeping noise telling me that I had low battery and I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh, I was just asking you to give us a score 1 out of 10, please.
Thank you so much. I don't know why it has to be so loud. I'm like, that's...
Do you need to plug in?
Potentially. I'm going to do that once you start talking. I gave this one a 10 out of 10. Episode 4, I loved. I really, really liked it. From beginning to end, I was like, I love this. It's great. The combat was awesome. It really advanced the story. You could really tell, like, as soon as Ahsoka brought up, like, hey, Sabine, you're going to be cool about this? And she was like, yep, sure. You're just like, oh, okay. So that's interesting. Yeah, I really loved the tension between the two characters. Because, oh, yeah, it's so good. I have a lot of favorite things about this.
Love to hear it. So I actually gave this an 8 out of 10. I thought this was the best episode so far.
Agreed. 100%.
I watched these 2 back to back, and so I don't know if it was necessarily the just the slow pace of episode 3 that like got me out of it, but I really, really enjoyed this. But again, as you've kind of said before, I'm not sure I would know what it takes or know what a 10 out of 10 looks like. And I say that with having recently watched Andor as well. Like I was literally watching it this week. And one of the biggest problems was one of the episodes in Andor is One Way Out. It's the episode where they make the jailbreak in Andor. That was like some of the most compelling Star Wars I've ever watched. And I felt more compelled for that episode than I did this episode. And I don't think I gave that a 10 when we went through. Looking back, I might have given it a 10, but so I'm thinking of this more in relative terms, not necessarily that like, because if we keep in mind, if we average our 2 scores together, this is a 9 out of 10. And I think that's a really fair place for this to be. So I really, really liked it. Huge fan.
For sure. Do you want to give us some of your favorite moments from this episode? Let's start getting into the weeds.
Yes, I do. So really happy that Sabine and Shin Hati get to basically get after it right away. I enjoyed that they didn't like bookend this, because oftentimes in engagements, we'll see these people fight at the beginning of a series and then they get to fight at the end of the series. And they're like, nope, you're going to have to wait 2 episodes and then you're going to fight again. And I'm like, cool, they are right back at it. And this time Sabine has her Mandalorian armor. She's much more prepared. She's already faced her. She's got her blaster. She's like fully kitted out. She's like, I am ready. Which, keep in mind, historically, Mandalorians are Jedi killers because they have armor that is lightsaber resistant. So they're like, hey, we are going to take you for we're going to take all your lunch money and we are going to send you back to the Dark Ages. So
yeah,
super, super excited about that. I thought she did a really good job. The Sith sorcery was a super cool twist. Like when Merrick gets just like sliced, just like right up the torso, and then just like black smoke spills out. I was like, oh yeah, that's nice.
I think
this is great.
I think I out loud went, nuh-uh. I was so thrilled.
Oh,
I was
so
like,
good.
I did not expect that.
The
internet has been ablaze with like, who the heck is Merrick? I wonder who he was. It's like, doesn't matter what his name is, he's dead.
Doesn't matter. And also potentially if he was a zombie once, that means, which the fact that he was probably like a zombie inquisitor, like maybe he was the Grand Inquisitor and they were just like, hey, we want your body back. You were a good fighter. We're going to use you. Like, oh, that's brutal. I will say I love how strong Balin is. Like,
yes.
Oh my gosh. The fact that he just like trucks Ahsoka off of the cliff, like she's parrying everything he has, but he is like in true Viking fashion, because he plays Volstagg as well when he plays Thor, when he's in Thor's entourage in Marvel, and that's just what I'm thinking of the whole time. Just every time he's swinging like an absolute like shield line breaker blow every single time, and Ahsoka's like, oh, that was probably going to kill me. Oh, that was probably going to kill me. And it reminds me a lot of how Darth Vader fights. Like he's slow and methodical,
absolutely.
But he's got steel behind every single one. Like he is just like jacked, just like, I'm going to put as much weight behind this lightsaber as I can. And I am going to move you and just brutalize you literally off of a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, loved it.
I am going to send you to another dimension. And then he does.
Literally. Yes, indeed.
One thing I really liked was in the combat scene between Shin and Sabine. Sabine just like draws her pistols and starts sprinting after her. She's like, okay, now I have the upper hand because I'm going to put so much fire down that you have no choice but to retreat. Like you're not going to have the time to like expertly deflect. I'm just going to make you run for your life. It's just it's like a Leroy Jenkins moment is really what like I saw it as. She's just like
so good.
Oh, it was so great. It reminded me a little bit of Han Solo when hi Tumnus of Han
when he
Solo
sprints down the hallway of the Death
Star. Yeah.
100%.
So good.
You'll never take me in half. Yeah, it's awesome.
Ooh, hold on.
Okie doke. Say hello to the wife.
Nathan says hi.
So now that we've already gone through episode 3, we're going to go through episode 4 as well. And now, since we're kind of at the mid-series finale, or mid-season climax, I should say, I'm not really sure what they want to call this, is we're going to talk about some theories we have for some of our next episodes. So, Andrew, why don't you go ahead and start us off? I have mine in all bolds. You probably read mine already, but I have some quotes and stuff that I want to add in there. So.
I have not read yours because I'm not a cheater. I don't read ahead.
I have not read yours either.
So I am theorizing that I think now that Sabine is on the Eye of Sion, I think she's going to continue her journey in accessing the Force with such a close proximity to Master Balin. I think he is going to allow Tumnus, don't you touch that. Tumnus, leave it. He's going after the stuffed Pac-Man thing. Hi, buddy. He absolutely, like, my dog took my little baby Yoda that's on the shelf behind me, and he got a hold of it, and just, it was so wet. It was like dripping wet with his spit. I was like, dude, not a toy. I'm like holding his collar so he doesn't walk away. Oh,
He's
I
like,
don't
I
even
see
know where
the
I was.
Platy.
Don't lick me.
You were about to talk about Sabine and doing something.
Yeah, I think
theories.
Master Balin is going to be able to break through some of those mental barriers that Sabine is struggling with. And if anyone's going to be able to get her to access the Force, I think it's going to be him.
I think that will set us up very, very well. If Sabine does access any potential Force powers, she's going to immediately have a conflict between light and dark, because she does get warned by Ahsoka already when she's doing the blind training that she starts to get better and better, because it's not necessarily inferred that she's accessing that part of precognition, but it is implied that there's a little, like, Ahsoka's like, hey, remember, like, we have to stay on this side of the Force, not this side of the Force.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see that. My theory is that they are going to make it to this new galaxy, and there's going to be Jedi there. 100%.
Oh,
This is my theory. So here's some quotes from the episode. And it's actually a quote from episode 3. The one right before this. Theoretically, if one knew the coordinates in navigation, yes, I believe it, referring to the Eye of Sion, could make the hyperspace jump. The Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named Purrgil. There is no way that the Jedi have not already been like, hey, so we know these things exist. Why would we not use them? There's no way they haven't sent like a few like exploratory Jedi into that new galaxy. No way. And as
isn't that what the Legends novel Outbound Flight is all about?
Yes. So it is trying to access deep space, essentially.
Gotcha.
And this is kind of my theory, is this is going to open up a Star Wars multiverse, because there can be existing galaxies and stories happening in other realms. If they are like, hey, these other galaxies actually exist, this, if they wanted to, they could potentially use this and the world between worlds as a branch between a Star Wars multiverse, or at least going from galaxy to galaxy.
I was going to ask, I was like, do you think the world between worlds is going to be that path? And I mean, it's kind of in the name, so...
Yeah. I mean, she's still going to get there. She's going to potentially, now that Ahsoka is in the world between worlds, she might get there first, actually. She could very well get her traveling done very, very quickly. So that would be super cool.
So that actually does remind me of something. I actually want to change my rating to a 9 out of 10 because digitally de-aged Hayden Christensen threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I did see a lot of people complain about that, and part of me is like, hey guys, just let it happen just a little bit. Like, just don't think about it too much. But like, he's got bags under his eyes, and they're like, yes, I understand that they're like trying to make him there. I almost would have. I know the original intent is to keep Hayden Christensen in. That's a huge cameo, right? And that gives weight to it. But they're like, hey, let's try to make this as best as we can to matching the Anakin that existed when Anakin and Ahsoka were master and apprentice. So I totally get that. However, I would have been okay if they had just recast Anakin and they were like, hey, this is Anakin. This is the guy that's going to play him now. It's like episode 2 came out like 20 years ago. Like, just let it happen. It's okay. It's like, none of us are gonna, as long as they tell us who happens, it's like, it's okay if they recast him, don't worry about it. But I know Disney's very like, we will either use a holographic projection of this character or we won't use them at all. So it's kind of an interesting rabbit hole.
Indeed. We have a ton of lore for this episode. Oh my gosh.
So much.
So let's get started. Do you want me to start?
Go for it. You have 2 different pieces of lore. So how about you do your first one? I'll do mine, because mine is all kind of interconnected and it's like a web of different conspiracy theories. And then you do your second one after.
Sure. I can have my very structured paragraphs, and then you can go on your crazy rant. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Hu Yang. He is the droid who is accompanying Ahsoka. If you never watched Clone Wars, you might not know this, or you may not know who this very tough and snarky droid is. He was the droid who was responsible for accompanying Jedi Masters such as Yoda to the planet Ilum with a gaggle of younglings on a pilgrimage to get their lightsaber crystals. After the younglings would find their crystals, they would rejoin on the ship, and Hu Yang would actually help them choose the components of their lightsabers, as the younglings then used their attunement to the Force to focus the crystals and the components into a functioning saber. My favorite was like this little Wookiee Jedi who actually had a wooden handle from a Rorschach tree from Kashyyyk. So it basically is like ironwood, basically. Very cool. I thought it was awesome. But then we see in Ahsoka that he also helps with more elements of Jedi training than just creating lightsabers. He's also trained in combat. He's super tough. He's like very shiny. I wouldn't be surprised if he had some sort of like Beskar alloy or what's it called? There's another alloy similar to Beskar in the Star Wars universe.
I can't remember what it is, but I know what you're referencing.
I'll think of it. But it's probably that alloy, which that is also a canon material, which was brought back into canon in a Thrawn book.
It's annoying me that I'm not thinking of it. I'm like, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's
gonna pop into my head like halfway through my next thought.
Because it's the mineral that's mined on Apatros by Darth Bane in his book.
Yeah.
In Path of Destruction. Cortosis,
yeah.
Got it.
There you go. Really pulled that one out of the air at the last second.
I didn't pull it out of the air.
Gross. Anyways, do you want me to go into my spiel?
Go.
So, we are continually shown the paths through space, the world between worlds. The path that we see Ahsoka awaken on is that path, world between worlds. I looked this up, and there's a lot of different theory and actually some additional backstory that is available online as well. So this is also known as a Vergence scatter, a plane of existence separated from real space that exists inside the Force. The path has shown This path, has shown that Jedi can travel these paths between space and time. Ahsoka, Ezra, Palpatine, and now Anakin have all directly interacted with this phantom realm. We also see Phoenix Squadron interact with the world between worlds when they ride on Wolfback across the planet Lothal. They actually use this same thing when they essentially teleport via Wolfback throughout the planet, which also indicates that which we kind of see in Rebels, that Loth wolves are Force sensitive and actually able to wield the Force quite well, because we see Kanan Jarrus or Caleb Doom reincarnate as a Loth wolf. So very, very cool. Or at least it is postulated that his will is present inside of one of these wolves. We see the painting in Rebels Season 4 episode of The World Between Worlds. The episode is just named for what they call this plane of existence, that we see Ezra originally go through this portal via a Jedi temple with the archetypes of the three painted on it. These archetypes are found originally on the planet Mortis, and they represent the father, the daughter, and the son. These represent the light side, the dark side, and the balance between the two. So we have a lot of iconography that is happening here. So there's a ton going on. As we see Ezra go into the world between worlds, we immediately start hearing the voices of Ben Kenobi, and he starts teaching Luke about how the Force connects all beings. You see a lot of different cameos of voices throughout that as well. It's very helpful to listen with subtitles because it tells you who is speaking as well.
Yes.
So
God bless
little
subtitles.
little hack for you Star Wars fans. If you don't understand what's being said, there's a lot of important things being said, and it says who is saying them as well. So
I can't hear without my subtitles.
Yeah, pretty much. So it is also said that these portals hold so much power that whoever controls them could be considered the most powerful Force user in existence, because they can literally control space and time. One interesting thing that is inside the World of Worlds, and we'll probably see more of this as Ahsoka travels through when she's now interacting with Anakin, is that depending on the shape and the iconography surrounding the portals tells you where and to what style of portal and event you are entering into. For example, the portal that Ezra originally drags Ahsoka out of is triangular shaped, similar to the Sith holocron, where it originally pulls them into a Sith temple where she is fighting Darth Vader. And we see our normal portals, one that exited the light side temple, as a circle. So there's a lot of iconography, like the symbols mean things. The portal that leads outside of Lothal is surrounded by wolves. There's a lot of other iconography and different portals. I'm sure they mean other things, but there's a lot of Easter eggs that can be gleamed from this experience. And we're probably going to see many more of these when Ahsoka goes through and interacts with the world between worlds. Also, fun fact is Dave Filoni originally came up with the idea for the world between worlds, and it was inspired by the wood between the worlds from C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia.
That's awesome.
Confirmed in an interview.
I really love that. That's really cool.
That's what I was nerding out on today.
That's so cool, actually.
Is reading all this stuff. I'm like typing furiously. I'm like, oh, gotta get this down. Gotta type faster.
Well, I'm glad your brain could handle all of that, because I will stop writing a sentence mid-sentence and then move on to a different question and start answering it.
Gosh dang it, we are the same person.
Oh, Lord. The other bit of lore I wanted to talk about is the Night Sister necromancy. So as you saw that kind of green, blackish smoke come out of Merrick, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you probably wouldn't really know what's going on. So he is the resurrected husk of a Night Sister, or an Inquisitor, resurrected by Morgan Elsbeth. So the Night Sisters are witches. They do witchy things with the Force and were incredibly dangerous to the point where they almost assassinated Count Dooku during the Clone Wars for throwing away his Night Sister apprentice Ventress like a piece of common street trash. The Sisters of Dathomir were expert necromancers, even to the point of controlling their own zombie horde when their planet was threatened. These witches were eventually genocided to the point of extinction when Grievous and his Metal Legions marched on Dathomir and killed nearly every single Night Sister on the planet. Their art was apparently not lost, since we know that Lady Elsbeth is one of them herself. I actually ran a Star Wars RPG back in the day where the BBEG was a Night Sister cult trying to perform their dark magics on the planet for some nefarious purpose that I can't really remember. It was a fun way to give the party kind of a dark side Force user to take down in the end without it being like a true Sith.
Because we all would have died in that campaign. If it was like a Force user, we would have died.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Darth Vader shows up and he wants to kill you. It's like, well, if you can't escape, you die. I wasn't looking for a TPK in that moment. So it's like, well, I'll make them a Night Sister. Like, they're dangerous, but they're not as dangerous as full-blown Sith. Some more powerful Night Sisters were even able to conjure spirit blades that could clash with lightsabers, so I actually gave the sisters in this campaign one of those, which was just spec'd as a lightsaber, but also the party was so overpowered that they gunned everyone down in a few short turns before she could even get close, which was good because she would have one-shotted them.
In that campaign, we may have acquired some illicit firearms.
Yeah, a lot of disruptor rifles and
things that are technically war crimes.
I learned a lot of things about balancing combat in that campaign. But anyway, those are some things we could see out of Lady Elsbeth. She seems to be incredibly powerful. Only really strong and powerful Night Sisters have been able to bring others back from the dead. So if she can do that, it would be really cool to see if she had if she could conjure her own spirit blade. I think that would be really, really cool. That would be a really fun fight between her and Ahsoka to kind of cap things off.
I think that would be super fun. Be so okay with seeing some spirit blades. Very, very cool. Let's finish this up by hitting our lowlights for this episode, which I will start off and say I really don't have any lowlights, but interestingly enough, I still didn't feel like this was a 10. I like Anakin's de-aging didn't really bother me that much.
Mm-hmm.
He's there. I'm happy Hayden Christensen's there. But other than that, I don't really have any lowlights, but I still wouldn't necessarily call this a 10.
Yeah, that makes sense. His digitally de-aged face did make me kind of pulled me out of the episode a little bit, but I was still really happy to see Hayden Christensen on the screen again. So it was like, that looks weird, but I'm still happy you're here, kind of thing. It's like after you see a relative and they got plastic surgery and you're like, I'm happy to see you, but you did scare me.
You got the whole uncanny valley thing going on.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of what digital face de-aging makes me think of is the uncanny valley. Mm-hmm. So that's that. Yeah. Other than that, I'm pretty okay with it. So
for sure. I think that's all we have to talk about as far as Ahsoka. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought of this episode, whether or not you really liked it. If you didn't like it, that's also okay. We want to harbor a community that is free to express their opinion in any way, shape, or form, as long as you don't gatekeep and you're not rude. If you demean someone because you're like, oh, your opinion is stupid and you are stupid and you should feel bad kind of thing, we will remove you from the conversation because we have that right as the lords of our own content.
Indeed.
But actually, to say though, the community of people we do know and don't know, for that matter, have been really, really positive. And that makes me happy because that's something we're trying to put more out of into the world is positivity, because the internet is such an awful place sometimes. It's so terrible.
We try to keep it as happy as possible. Overall, guys, thank you guys all so much for watching. Every single one of you is amazing. Every single one of you is lovely. And make sure you guys leave us your theory in the comments, share pictures of your model on Twitter or Instagram. We love Warhammer and other models, even if it's the Star Wars modeling game, which I can't remember what the tabletop is called. Legion, thank you. Send us those pictures. If you guys have questions you guys would like to be featured on there, you can DM us on any of our socials, and you can also send us an email as well. Make sure to subscribe and like this video so the algorithmic overlords will slice this video into the feeds of other like-minded folks. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Andrew.
For those of you who stayed to the end of the episode, we are going to pick what the giveaway is. Thank you for staying here.
Yes.
I am going to share my screen.
Oh, this is exciting. I didn't realize we were doing this.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
Oh, Lord. That's a cool effect. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Ooh, yes.
Let's see. And Twitch can see my screen as well. Let's see.
Yes.
I am going to split this between there and there. Oops, that's the wrong program. I can figure this out. Where's my face? Oh, it's right here. Weird. Minimize. Cool. So we have 4 different options for our giveaway for October. We didn't do a giveaway this month because
our last one was huge.
It was huge and cost a lot of money, and our CFO said we can't do that. So we're paring it down a little bit. So the way our giveaways are going to work in the future is the amount of items we give away is going to be based on how many members on our Patreon we get. I think we're looking at for every... It's either 10 or 20 members in our Patreon, we give away 1 item, and the item will be around between $20 and $50. The lightsabers were significantly more of that. We hope to only have only do that once a year. So that's not going to be an every month thing. That's going to be a once a year. Also, we didn't get a ton of engagement for our last giveaway. I think people were like, that's a scam. It's like, no, we actually gave away 3 lightsabers.
Yeah, we did.
You missed out. If you thought it was a scam, it was not a scam.
You lost, losers. No, you're not losers. We love you. But you did lose out.
So October's month giveaway, the options are going to be between a relatively smaller set of Star Wars Lego, some talk about Tatooine merch. We might be giving away some cool dice, either a D6 set or more of a Dungeons and Dragons like multi-sided dice approach, or both, depending on what it comes out as. Or we'll do a Warhammer model of some sort. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
And here we go.
Time to spin. All right, we're going to put bets on what we think it's going to be. And, oh, nice. A cool dice set.
Awesome. We're going to be giving away a cool dice set.
Dude, I'm thinking maybe like some cool, like Baron of Dice. Are you familiar with their products?
Yeah, we can we'll iron out the details in the background. We'll do a little bit of research on what we think is cool. Baron of Dice might be a good one. I really like Chessex as a brand. That's what
Chessex as well.
I really like their stuff. They have some really cool. You can get a lot of dice from Chessex for a decent amount. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Join our Patreon if you want some cool dice.
Please do. Please do. We love you forever.
You
get lifetime access to the Discord server.
Lifetime access to a Discord server, access to our Minecraft realms, which we organize through our Discord server. So I guess that's lifelong too. You get to choose what kind of episodes we do, what kind of shorts content we do. And then we're going to also be doing something coming up in December. We're going to do this twice a year, where we actually are going to take some of our Patreon money, and we are going to donate it to charitable organizations. So if you want to also do something cool with your Patreon, join ours. Absolutely. Please and thank you.
We want to help people out.
Anyway, we are over the hour mark, and I have to use the bathroom.
You got it. All right, sir. I'm going to rate us out really quick, just because we've got a few here, and we'll just go say hi to somebody in chat. So we're going to send it over, and to everyone, let me see. We've got let's go to Code the Toad, because he has a funny name. Code the Toad, and he is playing Starfield, so I think that's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to send it over here, folks. Love you all. Happy I forgot what month it was there for a second. Happy September. We'll see you guys in the next one. It's going to be a good time. Let's go check out some Starfield. It's a really cool game. Andrew's been playing it. I hope to be playing it. We want to get some more news for that as well. So we're sending it over in 3, 2, 1. See you guys later.
Close your eyes.